All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Box Lunch here at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. We are so excited to be back with you folks on this beautiful Monday. And summer is approaching, which means things are reopening. And we have the pleasure of visiting with several great artists in the area today as we continue to announce our new artistic endeavor over at the Will Rogers Pioneer Tower, I believe it is called, with the New Stories, New Futures exhibition coming up in August. And today we're so very blessed to have one of the participating artists in that venture, Nick, and I'm gonna look and see if I say this right, Bontrager. How do you say your last name, Nick?
Bontrager.
Bontrager, awesome.
Yeah.
And Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I love the menu that's stuck behind you. It brings back memories of showing up at elementary school when it was your birthday, and you'd see your name written on the sign or something. It's great.
This is
Love
high quality production value, I have to say.
Yeah.
After a year of doing these, I think I'm like on my 10th notebook. Believe it or not, I think I'm on the same roll of Scotch tape. And I can't even begin to tell you how many highlighters and markers I have gone to try to make these top quality signs right here.
I'm just going to assume that this video series is sponsored by Scotch tape, and that's the subliminal messaging that you're pushing across.
I have joked along this whole time, all I need is some sponsorship, and I'll take Scotch tape, I'll take highlighters, hell, I'll take Mead notebooks, any of them that are willing to give us a little bit of extra, bring it on over. We're available for any opportunities that they want to present.
So much brand potential.
Nick, what is on your lunch menu today before we get too in-depth with the interviews?
I am gonna eat some deviled eggs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Homemade or store-bought?
Homemade. So I've got some eggs from our chickens at home, and it's I didn't have a whole lot of time to prep today, so I threw the ingredients in a little container, and so I've got everything I need here. Got some beautiful little eggs from my chicken Matilda. Some little green eggs. So that'll be my lunch today. What about you?
Awesome. Now, I gotta say, I felt a little bad for those that are watching. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm having chicken parm. Now, I feel terribly guilty because I did see in your bio, you have 3 chickens. Is that right?
That's true. Yes.
And you said Matilda was one. May we have the name of the other 2?
Sure. Matilda, Charlotte, and Petunia.
Petunia. Well, I feel even worse now having chicken parmesan after hearing those lovely names. And
what's the name of your chicken parmesan?
Breaded. I call it breaded and baked.
That's a good name for that chicken.
So Nick, do you mind taking a moment and just giving us a little bit of a brief bio as to who you are and what it is you do?
Sure. My name is Nick. I teach at TCU in the studio art department here. And the area that I tend to focus in is called new media. So I teach a lot of courses and work with our students that focus on how emerging technologies can fuse with a traditional practice. So we're, not only working with things that you may consider as, new and exciting fringe technologies, but also finding a way to, integrate them into their existing toolbox full of paintbrushes and power drills and, everything they may already know or want to incorporate into their artwork. So, I've been teaching here, I think this is my 9th year at TCU. So I've been here a long time, really love it. And they're very supportive of teaching and research and projects that we love to work on. And then my background is also in photography and filmmaking and a little bit of everything. So I get to kind of solve problems all day here at my job, and that's super fun.
Nice. I hear the term and see it in your bio, interdisciplinary artist. Do you have a, discipline that you prefer, or do you find all of the tools are really the best way for you to express what you're looking to do as an artist?
I think tools are tools, and the tools will change day to day, that are employed by me, given whatever the problem or the opportunity is. I think if I had to pick a discipline or any kind of a catch-all kind of descriptor, I would probably settle on world building. Some kind of expansive narrative that comes with all the objects and images and videos and drawings that get made when I'm kind of pursuing a project or an idea. I don't know that it takes any specific form until I can figure out what the problem is that I'm trying to solve. So I would say I'm just kind of following that string of how I can expand, these things that are so important to me, and have their meanings coalesce in some way.
I just find that so neat. There's so many neat, interesting nomenclature things in your bio. You talked about game-based interactions. Is that where this kind of open world, so to speak, was inspired from? And how do you really define game-based interactions in your art?
It certainly influenced a lot of the things or images or whatever that I'm making. I think to describe it, I would have to reduce game-based interactions to something that everybody has experienced once or twice. So whether it's a sense of competition from being across a chessboard or a checkerboard from somebody, that kind of heightened excitement that comes when you realize your next move, or the complete distress that comes from not knowing the next thing you're going to do, to the way that some of my first long-term friends were coming from internet or game-based experiences, where I could talk to somebody that was living in a different part of my city or the state or the world, and share a interest in something, whether it's an educational game, when you would go to the computer lab in school when you were a kid, or when I was a kid, or if it was just something where you were playing around in the chat room of like some kind of computer game, and talking about, oh, I like this Lego set, or have you seen this movie? And you start to kind of have these interactions that stem from maybe a root of some kind of game.
Yeah, it's just some really, really cool stuff. I know that whenever I was looking at your website as well, and some of your previous works, it really does seem to be a theme as well. I was particularly excited about, and I'm going to say it wrong, it was the survival, the military guidebooks and things. And so I'm very interested in military history and things along those lines. My grandfather was a tank driver in World War II, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of a work in progress about the Vietnam War. And so it really did kind of hit on me whenever I was looking at some of that research. You've also got a Morse code, I think it was, venture as well. So I certainly see how some of that dynamic of interaction is part of your process. Do you mind talking a little bit about your newest work for the Pioneer Tower exhibition?
Yeah, of course. I have proposed and am working on creating a series of traditional arcade cabinets. So something you might see in the corner of a bar, or something like a Pac-Man game. You know, these large kind of architectural structures that tend to always feel larger than life. I remember, you know, there's a certain period where you can't see over the little controller marquee, and then you can kind of almost use it the same way that you mark your height on a door frame in your house. So I tend to kind of think about my height in relation to that. But anyway, I've proposed constructing a few of those in the around the base of the Will Rogers Memorial Tower in a fashion that resembles some abandoned arcade cabinets. Basically, many of them are constructed of wood or plywood or particle board, and as they decay or are forgotten or abandoned, they start to kind of sink. The bottoms rot out, the sides kind of start to be unable to take the weight of, you know, large TVs and speakers and all the electronics. So they tend to almost look like they're sinking through the ground or falling. And what I'll be making for the installation will be a series of arcade cabinets that are completely functional and look like they're kind of sinking through the architecture or the floor and are falling, but will be fully playable by anybody who would like to experience the games that I'll be making. So I'll be making some custom games for them as well, where you can kind of explore virtual spaces or experience a new narrative that might be influenced by something that I'm, you know, currently wrapped with, or maybe is part of the history of the space, since that arena has changed so much and has, you know, been the site of many a story already.
Wow, it just sounds really cool. I love interactive art. Anything you can do to engage with those sort of experiences, I think is just absolutely incredible. Should people bring a roll of quarters, or do you just need to find your
Yeah,
piece and interact with it?
they should definitely always have a roll of quarters so that they're prepared for the experiences that life brings them. But they won't have to pay anything, you know, at all to experience the games.
Now, Nick, is this your first venture into the public art arena?
It
And
is in
why
Fort
is
Worth.
why is public art so important to the public?
Well, I think this isn't my first venture in Fort Worth. You know, I've had the pleasure of working on large scale projects, both as, you know, for myself or in support of other artists in, you know, other cities around the world, to kind of help them, you know, kind of contribute to very different cities and cultures and tell these stories. So it always comes with extreme complications when you're going to be having a lot of people visit your site and see it in different ways, and you want to be prepared. The biggest concern for me is certainly accessibility. I want to make sure that not only can anyone and everyone find a way to enjoy or take something away from the work that I'm going to be making, but that they don't feel like they're limited by you know, a physical or a language barrier or anything that might you know, offend or be counterproductive. The point is that, you know, my experience in games and gaming is based on open communication and the way that it can be an inviting and a positive relationship that is formed. And so I want that to be mirrored in this work as well. So those are the main things that I'm kind of pushing forward. You had asked about something else at the end of your question. What was the second part of your question?
Why is public art important to the public?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think in terms of my experience, it's a way to experience the joys that come from art without necessarily having to visit a venue. And I think that comes with a certain amount of privilege. You know, if you grow up in an area without large museums and galleries and the ability to see traveling works of art, public art might be the kind of touchstone for you as a young person or as a developing creator, where you can count on a public artwork to be there and to serve as a point of reference for your ideas. It can, you know, be a site that you can visit and create memories around and revisit them. You know, we see that with everything in our city, and just as much with the way that public art is present in forms of television and movies as not only, you know, props or landmarks, but at the same time it serves as an immediate way to give some sense of coherence to space. It makes it feel like it's an inviting public space where everyone is welcome, and it's a safe space to formulate an idea or have an experience, or just simply relax and enjoy the kind of surrounding landscape with the people that are close to you. So I think
Yeah.
that's why it's important to me.
Yeah, for me personally, there's nothing better than I call it surprise art. You aren't expecting it, and then you're looking at something, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm emotionally moved." And there's nothing better than getting to experience art when you least expect it. And I think there certainly needs to be more opportunity for that. Specifically with the new stories, new futures at the Pioneer Tower, oftentimes it's my perception anyway, that a lot of public art is directed towards the environment or area that it is located. Murals in a community of color, architecture that's tied to something else in the area or saying a message. One of the things that I find so interesting about this particular exhibit at Pioneer Tower is it's bringing all of these artists into a centralized location, different cultures, diversity in its representation. How do you feel as an artist being in that circle? And is there anything that you're specifically trying to say with your art in that regard? Or are we just fortunate enough to be able to experience your piece as an art piece and you as an artist?
I think we did one site visit last week or the week before where we got a chance to kind of see who was going to be contributing to the event with, you know, of course, with Lauren Cross playing, you know, being curator for us and inviting us all. So doing a you know, heavy amount of planning and making sure that everyone feels like they are represented in the way that they want to be. And so just based on our brief walk around, I think, you know, several of the artists certainly mentioned, you know, the feeling of some almost an imposter syndrome. Like, surely this is an accident. Surely I got the wrong email, because, you know, this is a great new venture for our city. And why am I, you know, somebody who gets to be part of that kind of vanguard experience? And so I certainly am excited and thrilled to be part of this kind of new chapter that has been long in progress for the city. But at the same time, you know, once you make the work and you let go of it, I think you just have to kind of hope that maybe, you know, something that you want to be part of that conversation makes it through, but you have to be open to the possibility that it can be read in so many different ways based on the public's response and the history that they're bringing to it and their own experiences, and how they may emotionally respond to the work, or it may you know, impact them based on something that they hope to one day experience or have experienced in their past. So at a certain point, I'm excited to see and hear from the people that do interact or witness or encounter the work, and use it as what it is, which is a conversation starter to get a sense of what kinds of experiences and stories are present in the city and what the next ones will be.
Yeah, I absolutely can't wait to see all of this stuff actually up and on its feet. You had mentioned a long time coming. I think people sometimes aren't as aware of the process that it takes to pull off a public art project. I spoke with a public art artist a few weeks back. He said 17 years from concept to application. How long have you been involved in this particular New Stories, New Futures project?
This project actually is happening pretty quickly. I think Lauren approached me about a month ago.
Oh,
So it's an
wow.
extremely quick turnaround compared to, as you mentioned, the history of public art. Now, the tower work, I remember, having discussions on that when I was part of the public art program, and that was 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, these kind of conversations, you have to have everything about how will it be funded, how will it be cared for in the future, how do you make sure that everyone is represented, and there's so much that rightfully needs to be in place when you have a new public work that's going to be pursued. So yeah, this is kind of extremely fast in terms of how it's happening, and that's exciting, but at the same time quite challenging.
Yeah, for sure. So now you said you've had some experience in public art before. What is something that the public may not be aware of? I know that a lot of people, there's always debate. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's beautiful. Why did they put it there? What's something the public may not be aware of in regards to the public art process?
Well, I think certainly there are. I would say the biggest concern that is not in the public eye would be longevity of materials or conservation. That's something that tends to overshadow the making of the work often. Anytime you are selecting a material, can I still get this in 20 years?
Right.
Can I find this color in 50 years if this needs to be repainted? Or the same way that in preparation for Mars rovers, they artificially produce caustic environments and say, like, well, how is this going to handle an acidic dip? Or basically, what are the possible ways you can test the materials that you'd like to use for your project, or your artwork, so that you can assure it's not going to fall apart and just be abandoned after a year or two.
Wow. Yeah, I just find that fascinating. And again, I come from a theater world. Longevity is not something we really focus on. It's just a
Right.
matter of get it up,
Strike it.
get it open, and then we'll refurbish it for the next show. So yeah, that's just crazy to hear about those things. And honestly, there's so much that goes into all art that I just wish people had an opportunity to not only experience the finished product, but to me, I always joke that the real art is in the creation and the process of actually getting it either up on the wall, over to the overpass, or just up on a stage. And I think that a lot more people would appreciate the value of what it is they're experiencing if they had to go through all those processes with these artists that just put their heart, soul, time, energy, and everything else they have into these projects. So
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's something to be said for surprise art, right? Like the magic that comes with seeing the unveiling, and only months earlier having it been a blank section of concrete or an empty
literally.
spot in the park. I wish there was some kind of, a little pill you could take to let you forget all of the minutia and the legal paperwork and the material selection, just so you could experience it from that other side of the table.
Yeah, here I just went on this long tirade about how people should appreciate the process. I worked for a magician for
Oh,
quite a
there you go.
while, and I've never been more disappointed in the simplicity of the tricks. So,
Right.
so maybe I shouldn't say that, and I guess I should be very, very happy that there is still a magical quality for anyone after you've had to go through all of that as well. So.
Now there's a rumor going around that you're going to be at the top of the tower with some kind of sheet, and then at the unveiling, you're going to pull the sheet and reveal it. Is there any truth to that?
Well, let me
I think I
clarify
saw it
that
on
rumor.
Twitter, maybe.
Well, for anyone who's been paying attention, we've done these box lunches for over a year now. I'm going to do the trick where you lift the curtain from the top of the tower, and then I'm just going to jump off and get to the ground
Oh, okay. It's a built-in parachute.
for my reveal. That's exactly it. And yeah, I'm honestly hoping to just enjoy the art over at the tower and not have to do much because even though I do consider myself an artist, I am really very, very excited to see all of these exhibits, along with all of the work that is going into the Pioneer Tower exhibition itself. I'm really just ecstatic for this to finally be turned on, so to speak, and I cannot wait to see how all of this comes up and really looks. It's going to be a real pleasure for us, and I feel very spoiled to be across the street at the Arts Center and have the opportunity to be so close to all of this wonderful art. Now, Nick, I'm curious, and this is more of a personal question. You obviously have a love for gaming. Has gaming changed over the last few years? And I mean specifically about time spent gaming, purpose of gaming. There was a lot of talk way back about violence in games, too much time being spent. Where do you see the value in gameplay? And obviously, you've brought some of that out into your artwork. We've all been inside for a year. Is there still value in gameplay?
Oh, no doubt. I think when you bring in the history of the evolution of gaming and its intentions and its outcomes and how it might affect a player or a community, those are valid concerns and points that everybody should be thinking about if you are embarking on this journey. I think as I've gotten a little older and more responsibilities have come my way through work or family, time has become such a a finite resource. And even looking at newer games, which it's a couple years old now, but there's a game called Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yes. Yep.
And I'm so fascinated in it for this kind of narrative storytelling and reimagining of the American West, and it's kind of this mashup of American culture and spaghetti westerns and fake westerns. But I remember I still haven't finished it because somebody said, oh, you gotta get to 80 hours before it really gets good. It's like, well, I don't have that's a luxury. Like that's wild. And so a majority of my time spent with these kind of experiential narratives or stories, or just kind of moments of competition, come from a lot of like portable experiences, like an old Game Boy that might be on my desk, or text-based games that I can play when I'm waiting for an airplane or something, or in between classes. So a lot of my experience is I think so different because I'm treating games and gameplay and game communities a lot like a library where I'm um, hungry for a new story or a new voice, and I want to um, explore and get every single little hidden secret out of it. So it takes me 10 times as long to go to every corner of the map, so to speak. Um, in terms of violence in games and the way that games have evolved, as you mentioned, that is something that I think is concerning. Where free to play games or games that might be kind of battle royale centric, where it's player versus player. Many of them that are free to play tend to target younger audiences, and that desensitization to not necessarily violence, but I think the way that you can have your actions changed by wearing a mask or an avatar. I think that's a concern for me. So, when you mentioned the past of like video game violence, I'm thinking, where like Doom in the 90s as points of legislation because of blood and demons. But I think for me, what I've seen certainly evolve is that somebody's at a developmental age, their actions may be impacted differently when there are no consequences necessarily.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily physical violence or the way that you may interact with another person directly in your space or in your community, but I think the way that we might communicate with each other and the way that we might feel responsible to care for someone else that can't care for themselves, or I just want to get that kind of sense of community, and I don't think necessarily that's in some of the games that we're seeing as so popular right now. That's certainly not a blanket statement, and I've been so overwhelmed with the way that a game like Minecraft has shaped young and
Yeah.
developing minds and given them a new way to problem solve and create and construct. And I actually haven't really ever played Minecraft because I'm terrified that I'll become obsessed and it will become my life. Like, wait a minute, there's a world where you can just build anything and find things and go searching. That sounds like my dream. I'm going to stick with this old bucket of Legos bricks from my childhood, because at least that's time-based and safe.
Wow. Yeah.
If I have an infinite scape of creativity, I think I'd never come back.
Well, there are certainly some great points there, and I remember losing a day or two to Doom way back, and I have to say it's we need more people like you bringing those metrics out of the gaming community and putting them into art, so we can continue to see the validity of those experiences. And just so very excited for all of these pieces to be up for us to be able to look at. Now, I normally ask this on Box Lunch in terms of lunch menus and any secret ingredients. I'm really curious in regards to those hard-boiled eggs. Any secret ingredients to ensure deliciousness, or do you feed the chickens some sort of secret ingredient so that when the eggs come out, they're delicious?
The egg, I peeled an egg ahead of time because I didn't know what we'd be getting into. But we feed our chickens a lot of like bugs and crickets and things, and so they're so yellow. I don't know if you can see. It's like neon colored yolks. And then I've got some celery seed here that I'll sprinkle on, and then I've got some paprika that I brought back from I think Madrid or Bilbao.
Oh, wow.
Got it in like a little market, and it's like a lifetime supply because you put it like a tiny little bit. So there's my little thing of paprika, and then I've just got my my little mixings here for some mayonnaise and mustard and a little bit of dill relish.
Awesome.
That'll
All
be
right.
my
So, Nick, I'm going to go ahead and have you prep that for our presentational aspect of the interview as we wind things down here. Couple of important questions. How and where can people find you and keep up with all of the great work that you've got going on?
I try to update my website with new projects and anything from videos or images or upcoming opportunities that I'm lucky to be a part of. And then I think the last time I updated Instagram was the week before everything shut down, and so I'm due for like an update. I feel like I've left it hanging there as a memorial of the last event that got canceled. And so now I'll probably kind of reboot that. And so Instagram and my website are probably the best ways to reach me.
Awesome. Well, we'll get some links down in the comments as well, and make sure that we can direct some people to all of that fabulous work that you've got going on. And in regards to the News Stories New Futures at Pioneer Towers, that runs August 20th and 21st, 2021, live and in person from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. I do want to remind everybody the event is free. All you need to do is reserve your time to come and join us. And you can do that at fwpublicart.org. We'll make sure we get a link in the comment, and we certainly encourage all of you wonderful people to come out, see these fantastic artists and all of this great work that they are doing. Nick, while you're wrapping yours up, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little insight to my chicken parm. And my special ingredient is don't bother with the egg on the chicken parm. Just use a little bit of butter, use a little bit of olive oil, flap your chicken around in there before it goes on the breadcrumbs. It'll cut a calorie or two off, not a lot, but a little, and holds the breadcrumbs in there as well. Got a little bit of fettuccine Alfredo as a side, and of course some wonderful bread, which we could probably all do less of.
If you do use an egg, does it have to come from the same chicken?
Well, I feel guilty about doing all this stuff to these poor chickens.
What do you?
So
No, you shouldn't feel guilty.
I'll jump over on the cow bandwagon and just say, use a little
would
butter,
say-
bread it up.
You could feel guilty if if Petunia walked into the frame.
I don't even know if I could eat this after all of this talk of these wonderful chickens.
No. No, you'll be fine.
All right, Nick, how you coming there? Do they look beautiful yet?
I'm ready. I'm almost ready to go here.
Wow.
Got
Nice. So you'd like mash them all up in the mix.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay.
I got it all in there. I'm ready to.
Oh, just looks absolutely fabulous. And my regards to those three wonderful chickens. Keep up the great work. And maybe next time when we circle around, I can bait you into bringing one of them on camera, just so we can get to see them live and in person.
Sounds good. Just hide your breading.
All right, Nick, any last words of wisdom for the wonderful folks out there joining us today?
Wear sunscreen. It's super hot out there right now, and I feel like I always forget that.
I think that's some of the best advice I've heard in the last year, especially with the Texas summer quickly upon us. So
put some sunscreen on those baby legs when they stick out of the stroller. I know I need to do that more than I should.
Great advice. Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure to visit with you. Can't wait to see the wonderful work coming, and we just so appreciate the time, and keep up the great work, and we'll be seeing you hopefully in person real soon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to eat virtually together.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up
There it is.
another edition of Box Lunch here at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. We thank you all so much for being here. Make sure you check out our website and all our wonderful social media as well. Keep up with us. We're coming back strong. We'll see you guys again real soon. Beautiful.
There it is.
Oh, it looks so nice. All right. Bon appetit, everybody. Enjoy your day. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye, everyone.